section at the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia, CENTAR. This is an activity of the National Integrity Building and Anti-Corruption Program, which is a 3 year program supported by the government and people of Sweden through the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency, SIDA. My name is Edward Blamo. I am your host, and I'm here along with Mark W. Bondau, who is here ably assisting the affairs of this program. We will take a very short break, and when we return, we will talk a little bit more about what we're doing at CENTAR. Let's take this break.
Corruption. I say corruption is a serious problem in Liberia.
What happened in matter?
You don't see how our country looking? Everybody just fighting for themselves. Community leaders, religious leaders, government people, teachers, students, taxi drivers, motorcyclists, and even in our homes. Corruption just all over the place. Everybody just inside this corruption business.
But what do all these other people then get to do inside this corruption business?
I would like to fund my account at any time, even here.
Right here, right now.
Here too!
Without moving an inch.
Here would be just perfect.
Henceforth, send money to your Orange Money account from your bank account and vice versa directly from your mobile phone. A simple and fast solution that is always available to ensure a permanent access to your Orange Money services. Anywhere, anytime, send money to your Orange Money account from your bank account from your mobile phone to cash out, to recharge, to transfer, to pay, to buy. To subscribe to this service, go to your bank branch office partner to the Orange Money service. It's all about what matters to you. Orange.
I would like to fund my account.
Your family members abroad need to send you money? Worry no more. Henceforth, receive your international money transfers from Europe, USA, and South Africa made via Western Union, MoneyGram, and many more directly into your Orange Money account. At Orange Money, we are family.
Orange Money.
Your family members abroad need to send you money? Worry no more. Henceforth, receive your international money transfers from Europe, USA, and South Africa made via Western Union, MoneyGram, and many more.
And as we have stated earlier, this is a key advocacy tool that provides essential information about the state of the fight against corruption and national integrity building efforts, as well as this program promotes the culture of accountability, transparency, integrity, and evidence-based decision-making across all sectors and institutions in Liberia. This radio program is intended for you, members of the public, to interact, to participate, and become active in the fight against corruption, and not to sit idle, not to sit and just watch and see things going on and do nothing about it and just complain. In Liberia, we complain a lot, but we don't take a lot of actions. So we expect that, for example, if you're working in an institution or in a public institution, maybe you're working at a ministry or an agency of government, and you are seeing things going on not properly done, and you're seeing signs of corruption. You're seeing, for example, bribery going on. You're seeing extortion going on. You're seeing sextortion and all the other forms of corruption. But you just sit back and say, well, that's the people think they didn't do what they can do. It's none of my business. That is not why we have this show. We have this show for you to call and participate and express those things, and we can direct you to our advocacy and legal advice center, which is established at Centaur and equipped with lawyers and other trained professionals to handle allegations of corruption and those kind of issues. So if you have an incident like that at your entity, at your ministry, at your agency, or at any or public corporation, or wherever you are, be a private sector institution or public sector institution, you can call, you can reach out, you can participate on this program, you can register, those complaints or those allegations, and the lawyers at Centaur who are trained and ready to respond to those allegations will always be available to respond. And we will give you the means through which you can reach out to ELAC, which is by calling our toll-free hotline, which is 4432. Once you dial 4432, the lawyers at Centaur will be there to receive your complaints or receive your allegation, and they will act appropriately. You don't need to have money in your phone. It's a toll-free hotline. What that means is that Centaur has paid for that particular call that you will make. So whatever call you make, Centaur pays for that call, just for you to be able to have no excuse to report corruption. We don't want you to say, oh, I wanted to report that allegation of corruption, but I didn't have money in my phone, so I couldn't report. And now the time has elapsed and blah, blah, blah. Centaur says, okay, we will pay for the call that you're supposed to make. Just report. We need active citizenry. We need you, members of the public, to actively engage in the discussions around corruption. You can also reach out to ELAC through email, and the address is elac@centaur.org.lr. So in case you don't want to call, there are people who may just not want to call, and they may prefer to just sit back and send an email with all of the documents or proof or evidence that they may have. You can do that as well. You can send an email to elac@centaur.org.lr. Once you send an email to that address, the lawyers at Centaur will receive your message and they will act appropriately. You can also reach out through WhatsApp message, and the number to WhatsApp tour is 0555 722 113. Again, it's 0555 722 113. Once you send a WhatsApp message to that number, the lawyers at Centaur, specifically our advocacy and legal advice center, will receive your complaint and they will act appropriately. That's the only way we can end corruption in Liberia. All over the world, people or countries who have succeeded in the fight against corruption, they did so by active citizens' participation, by the involvement of everyone. That is why we believe that you listening to us out there should participate. Don't be afraid. At ELAC, there is a huge confidentiality mechanism put into place. If you report an allegation of corruption, ALAC is going to protect your identity. You can rest assured that ALAC will protect your identity. You have no need to be afraid. There's absolutely no need to be afraid. Oh, in case I report this allegation, maybe I'm working in a space and my boss is doing something not proper, or he's involved into corruption, he's doing a whole lot of things, he's awarding contracts to his family members or his friends. I can say that because if I say so, you know, I will be exposed and then I may lose my job. You need not to be afraid. Your identity will be protected. No one is going to disclose their identity. In fact, it is one of the key parts of any anti-corruption campaign or any whistleblower campaign. There is absolutely no whistleblower campaign anywhere in the world that you know does not protect or does not consider protecting the identity of those who report corruption, because that's the major issue with corruption reporting or whistleblowing. People who blow whistle are always afraid that they may get retaliation. They are always afraid that people might come after them because they reported. So that is why we consider all of those things at ALAC. When you report, we don't even mention you in our investigation in case the folks at ALAC who like to do additional investigation, you are no mention. There's no mention of you. Nobody mentions your name. And nobody's going to know that you were the one that reported unless you go and disclose yourself. So you need not to be afraid. Report allegations of corruption. That's the only way we can end corruption. If you report an allegation of maybe your boss or your supervisor or somebody that you know or something you've seen, and ALAC goes ahead and investigates and finds probable cause and submits to the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, which now has the direct prosecutorial powers, which means they can go directly to the court and prosecute corruption allegations or corruption cases. Once you do that and that person is investigated, that individual is prosecuted, you have done a lot. You have done a great job. Because other people who are watching or who may be watching may take cue and say, well, if I do this, this is going to happen to me. I'm going to be reported and I'm going to be investigated and I'm going to be prosecuted for my action. That will serve as a deterrent. So that is what we want. We want a deterrent in Liberia. We want a Liberia where people will be afraid to indulge into corrupt practices and act. And that can only happen when you out there help the LACC, help the government of Liberia, help yourself, and help everyone to report corruption. Because once we report corruption, there will be deterrent. Because if those people are investigated and, you know, after investigation they are prosecuted, they wouldn't want to dare into that terrain again. Because if they do, they're going to be investigated. Even if they are not found guilty, that will also be a deterrent for other people who are already indulging into the practice. So that is why we encourage you. Report, call on the show, talk to us, report allegations of corruption, and let us end corruption in Liberia. So that's just one activity that we are implementing under the National Integrity Building and Anti-Corruption Program, which is the Advocacy and Legal Advice Center. We also have a broad objective to increase transparency and integrity of public sector institutions in Liberia, especially those providing public services in Liberia. And to do some of the activities under that broad objective that we have implemented, you know, include having workshops or training sections with some institutions who are providing public service. For example, yesterday we had a workshop or training session for senior managers at the Liberia Electricity Corporation. And that session was intended to, train them on anti-corruption measures and to give them knowledge on, some anti-corruption systems and policies and how they can include that into what they're doing at the LEC. Because we all have known or we have all heard of, massive allegations of corruption at the LEC, people accused, people, power theft is one of them, and also people meter theft, and a lot of things happening. People are always, LEC is always on a firing line in terms of allegations of theft and power and meter and what have you. So we thought to, for example, see how we can leverage expertise, how we can help the LEC to tackle corruption within their ranks. Because, if someone is going to get a stolen meter, it has to be from somebody within. If someone is going to get involved into power theft, they may have been trained, or they may have had some insider inklings or some trainings or some support from somebody from within. So we thought to, for example, how can we empower top managers and supervisors of the LEC, be it the transmission and distribution folks or the power theft folks, the HRO folks, the different departments and other aspects of the entity. How can we ensure that they are equipped and they are empowered and that they can contribute towards ending corruption at LEC? We had that forum yesterday. It was a successful one. We were very pleased with the outcome. We were impressed with the attendance. We had in attendance the Chief Executive Officer of LEC, Moni Ara Captain, and other senior managers. We made presentations. Our program manager, Anthony Gerard D. Yekula, and the Executive Director, Anderson D. Miame, made separate presentations. There were presentations from the legal department at LEC. There was also one from the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission. All what we are doing through those engagements is to ensure that we can increase transparency and integrity within public sector institutions. We also erecting billboards, as we've always said on the show, at various public institutions providing services to the public. We have billboards at the Ministry of Transport, for example, at the Ministry of Internal Affairs, at the Liberia Immigration Service, at the Bureau of Vital Statistics, and a lot of other institutions providing services to the public. We have erected billboards there so that people wanting to access services from those institutions can have power to the information, can have access to the information, especially around the cost of those services. Because if you don't know how much is it that you're supposed to pay, for example, a driver's license, you may well be extorted. Somebody may inflict the cost of the driver license and you may pay more. If you do not know the cost to register your vehicle, you may pay more to register your vehicle because someone somewhere may inflict the cost to register your vehicle. So we have the approved price or the approved cost of those services, and we placard them on the bulletin boards erected at the entry of those agencies or those institutions. And when you're going there to access those services, you will be greeted by those bulletin boards with all of those fees for services. And then when you have those information, you can move in and pay the appropriate cost for those services. So no one can extort money from you. We're also conducting research through our Open Expenditure Initiative. We have, launched a monitoring report, a 100-day plus monitoring report of the Joseph Newman Boycott administration, and we will be delving into some of the key findings of that report subsequently. But we'll also have our state of corruption report that we reproduce on this open expenditure initiative. And we are doing research around budget process and the county social development funds, including budgeting and spending. Also have our corruption case tracker that we are developing. Currently, in that case tracker, we have all of the information about corruption, cases of corruption, allegations of corruption, the status of those or cases, whether they are in courts now, whether they have not yet entered or, got into court room or have not been tried, and all of the details around all of the allegations, what the newspapers are saying about corruption, what is the media saying in general about corruption, what are the allegations of corruption reported in the media, be it print media, electronic media, and some online outlets. We will conglomerate all of those information and populate them on our corruption case tracker so that you can have access to all information about corruption in Liberia. When those cases or those allegations move from just being an allegation to getting to court, we will also update you on the tracker to let you know that, yes, this allegation has now moved to the court. The NCC has taken siege of that matter. So that is how the case tracker is going to look like. And watch out for it. We will launch it very soon. And we also have our Integrity Club outreach program that we are running in 4 universities. We're training young people. We're building an army of young people empowered with anti-corruption messages and sensitizing their peers and going to communities and talking to people about the need to have integrity. That is that. We are doing a lot more that we may not talk about here now. We'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll go into findings from our monitoring report of the earliest days of President Joseph and Boykott's administration. Let's take this break.
Introducing the Orange Money Card to Wallet service. How to transfer money from your bank card to an Orange Money wallet with the Card to Wallet service. Go to the Orange Botswana website at www.orange.co.bw and select the drop-down menu and click on Orange Online. This will open a new tab which will ask you to sign in. Click on Sign Up to register for the Card to Wallet service as a new user. Enter your name, surname, the Orange number and email address that will be linked to this service. Proceed to enter your occupation and create and confirm your password, which you will then be required to sign in with every time you make a card to wallet transfer. You will then receive an email confirmation. Enter the one-time PIN that you received on your phone. Click on the email confirmation link to finish off the registration. Once the registration is complete, log in, click on Card to Wallet, then enter the Orange Money number you are transferring to and the amount. Continue by entering the source of funds.
As we stated, we recently launched on Thursday, specifically on Thursday, Centaur, through support from our partner, the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency, SIDA, launched a monitoring report of the earliest days of the Joseph Newman Boakai administration. And that report has a lot of things that you can, take a time out and read and digest. In case you would like to know where to find it, you can go to our website, and the address is www.centar.org.lr. Once you log on to www.centar.org.lr, you will be directed to our webpage, and then you can search the documents folder, and then you will see our monitoring report of President Joseph Newman Boakai's earliest days in office. It's been more than 100 days. We've just released a report on Thursday of last week, and we're here to discuss some of the key findings from that report. That report is sort of evaluating various trends, within the government since the ascendancy or since the, coming into force of the Joseph Newman Boakai's Unity Party administration. And it took into consideration of various aspects of the government, including let me get to the table of contents. The report has an executive summary, has an introduction, first methodology, limitation, findings, and under appointments, the report talks about controversy and delays in appointments. It also talks about integrity records of some of the of folks appointed by the Unity Party administration. The report also talks about favoritism observed, and it talks also about gender and inclusion, some of the strides made to ensure that there is inclusivity of all genders in the architecture of the government or the entire construct of the government. And also there was a gender in focus, and also there was allegations of corruption. He took into consideration some other general allegations of corruption and actions not matching anti-corruption commitments. What that means is that there may be some actions, or there were some actions observed taken by the administration that did not match earlier commitments made towards the fight against corruption. And the report also talked about targets and results, some of the targets the government set out to achieve, and some of the results. Some of the places there were issues, and some of the places that there were successes. All of those were spelled out and, included in the report. The report also has in focus the payroll cleanup and the government's payroll exercise or cleanup exercise. We talked a little bit about that and some of the progress around that exercise. The report talks about anti-corruption financing, and that includes budgetary allocations to anti-corruption institutions or anti-graft institutions. It could be, LSCC, for example, the GAC, the PPCC, and all of those other anti-graft institutions. How are they financed? Are they sufficiently financed in line with commitments made to adequately finance anti-corruption institutions? Are these things happening? Read the report, you will get to know what the findings are. And also the report talked about assets recovery, had in focus assets recovery. It talks about rights and the civic space, and it had in focus the legislature. It also has recommendations as well. So it's a quite a lot. It's a quite a very bulky report, a long report. But if you take your time and download it, go to our website in www.centar.org.lr, and you flip to documents, you will have the time to download and take your time out and read some of the findings that the report has. So we'll be discussing together with Mark W. Bondau key findings of the report, one of which is appointments characterized by delays, controversy, limited transparency. And before we talk about that, I'd just like to, alert us about something. People sometimes misconstrue the work of civil societies. They may think, oh, these people are, it depends on which side you are. For example, if you are a member of the opposition, and then you see a civil society organization calling out some of the excesses of a government and talking about some of these critical issues, or criticizing, or flagging some critical issues about some of the government's efficiency, you may be excited and think, oh yeah, these are good guys, man. But when you are on the other side, it's always, often that people may think, oh, these guys are just against us. Some people don't take these reports with good faith. They don't take it to be something, that they can hold close to their chest. They can review and look at the recommendations and see where improvements can be made. I'm saying this because there was a time that we launched our State of Corruption report, and a lawmaker, I'm not going to call his name for some reasons, and he alluded that, hey, the previous administration, when Centar was like on our backs and demanding accountability and criticizing some of our actions, we thought they were against us. Now, when they are here now criticizing some of the actions of this government, now I believe that they are credible. Now I believe that they are doing, they are doing an objective job. I'm flagging that to let us know that we don't do these things as an opposition to government. We do these things as partners to government. We all want a better Liberia. We all want a better country. So we do these monitoring, reports and other reports so that recommendations contained in those reports can be adhered to and actions can be taken, all in the spirit of good governance and making our country a wholesome, functioning society. So this report, was developed. Most of the information contained were gathered from open sources and review newspaper publications, media publications. We've done some other follow-ups, engagements, review some of the activities of the government, and all of those things were put together, and they are what make up this report. And key finding number one is about appointments, and that was characterized by delays and controversy, limited transparency. So, Mark, do you have that as part of your observation?
Yes, exactly. Before we go through the report, let me just say thanks to the president for the declaration of his assets. I think it's something that we must appreciate him for, though we feel that it's somehow later. Unlike previous presidents who declared an asset 6 months after they assumed office. But I think that this is a recipe. I think it's very good that you lead by example. Right after the president declares assets, after a few days, the vice president declares his assets as well. These things are very important. It shows that you are a leader, who wants things to be right. So we must appreciate it, the president for taking such a bold step as it relates to the declaration of his assets. Yeah. So the report. The report is all about the 100 days of the Boakai Kong led administration, which speaks to like you said, controversies, appointments, and all of these things like that. We feel that these things are very important. Yeah, as much as like you already put it there. A previous lawmaker, I think he said a lawmaker. He said that we thought that Centaur was us a little bit biased because when we were in the seat and they were on our backs, and now we are out of the seat and they are on this other administration back. So we thought that they were biased. They wouldn't, feel. But this is not what we do. Remember that we are a civil society. We speak to the ills in society. We make recommendations because these is are very important. Everybody, every citizen in this country, we want a better Liberia. So when things are not going well, we speak to these things. Yeah. So for example, one of the key findings as it relates to the appointments, right? We feel that the president has some mishaps, and we all saw it, and thankfully that he acknowledged his mistake, and we also saw that he went against the Lord. He violated. Somebody said, yeah, he declared his asset after a specific period of time. Still, he still violated. There is no big violation. There is no small violation. In as much as he did not adhere to the law, in time, it means that he violated, whether it can be after 16 days or after 6 months, as it relates to the asset declaration. The matter of fact, he still violated. So it's something that we should look at very carefully. So, like the findings, like the appointments, right? Some of the appointments that he made, like what happened when he appointed the board not that the board, the tenure positions, as it relates to the EPA, and this was something that we felt that it went against that particular, because we spoke about tenure positions, right? Somebody cannot have a turning position, then they're occupying it that time have not yet expired, and you say that, oh, okay, we will we'll pay you off, and we'll put another person there. We feel that this is something that he should have take into consideration. Respect tenure position is very important.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's read the key findings. Number one, we talked about. I think you can elaborate more on that. We talked about appointments characterized by delays, controversy, limited transparency. So it was observed during when the president took office that there were noticeable delays in appointments. Nominations to most positions took place over a 3-month period following inauguration. And in some cases, the report said nominations were spaced apart by a week. All right, some appointments were not publicized. The report found there was also a lack of transparency regarding the appointments revoked by the president, thus undermining the public's right to know. And the report also found that of the 1,306 appointments made, 38 were affected by controversies. So 38 out of the 1,306 appointments were affected by controversy. Of this number, 13 concerned appointments that were changed, while 25 appointments were made ineffective by revocation, resignation, court proceedings, or refusal of current office holder to turn. So that's a very interesting statistics. 38 appointments out of the 1,306 were affected by controversy. Out of that number, which is 38, 13 concerned appointments that were changed. So there were people who were appointed, for example, to this place, and then later they were changed to another place. You wake up one morning and then you see a name, you see somebody nominated, for example, this institution, and then the next morning you see that same person nominated to another institution. So the report found that 13 of those appointments made by the president, was under that particular circumstance. And also it found that 25 appointments were made ineffective by revocation. There were some appointments that were made and revoked, and they amounted to around 25. And also, not just revocation, but resignation, court proceedings, or refusal of current office holders to turn. For example, you see similar thing happened at the Liberia Telecommunication Authority. That was in the case of refusal of somebody to turn because they felt that, hey, my tenure has not expired yet, so I cannot leave. And I think the president's action was, not in line with the law. I cannot be covered by turning you, and then I'll be removed without a cause, and blah, blah, blah. So these are some of the things, some of the observations the report had.
Yeah, I think let's just talk about some of those appointments that were stored and revoked. So for example, let's talk about what's this guy named Eric Jane Georges, who was appointed as a deputy minister, right, for technical service at the Ministry of Public Works. So something like, I don't know, it was something that was unconfirmed, but February 1st, we saw his name there. After a specific period of time, it was taken out. We're like, what's happening? We even saw, for example, Council Kura, right, as a Minister of Justice, but probably said that, this is that, they criticize that particular appointment. After some time, they said she has engaged into some kind of ethical conduct and as a lawyer or whatever stuff. The president revoked that particular appointment, and that Emmanuel Wayne, right, assistant minister for research and planning, he was also something, but it was later on revoked, and some other changes, like for example, right, if I as a president, right, I say, okay, this guy, let me just, the president is something that sometimes you have to take on the presidency by yourself. You have to use wisdom. Like, his lawyer tried at a specific point in time. We remember the issue that with the code, right? His lawyer tried to defy that for the same 10 positions, right? The lawyer said, this, we'll pay the people off and do this. No, you have to use your wisdom sometimes. As a president, you have to use your wisdom and say, my word is my word. I'm doing this because I feel it's not based on sentiments. It's not based on, whatever know about of that particular person, but I believe and know that this person, I have the confidence in this person, and that this person can do this job and things like that. Sometimes you have to listen to yourself as well, not listen to other people. You have to use your wisdom. And he said he just appointed this person. Somebody come and say, oh, this person is this person is that. He sits back and say, okay, let's revoke this person, or let this person be there in the meantime. Let me just see what I would do. And I think appointments are still ongoing. Recently, we saw, I think this week, where last week, we saw appointments that are being made as well.
Okay, so we will also go to some of the positives of the report, because let us also note that the report is not entirely, critical, so very critical of some of the missteps or mishaps of the government. We also flagged out some of the positives, and we'll go there very shortly. And so let us just take this other one that said some appointees have negative integrity records. The report found out that some of those appointed had negative integrity records. And it says some appointees are returning to public service despite a checkered history in government. These include the chairman of the Liberia Maritime Authority, the board of the Liberia Maritime Authority, or S. Tonola Vapila. He was designated by the National Legislature to restitute public funds in the past. There are publications to that. There are other sources that we found those, we used to gather those information, and we saw that this particular individual has reappeared, even though he was designated to refund public funds. Daniel Johnson, for example, he was appointed as Secretary General of the Roberts Flight Information Region, and that Daniel Johnson is wanted by the United States government for defrauding the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, of approximately US 1.9 million. So someone who is wanted for defrauding USAID 1.9 million is appointed to head the River Flight Information Region. So that's one thing the report found. The report also found that Noto Japa, the president's choice to head the National Insurance Company of Liberia, was forced to resign his position as managing director of the Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation in 2012. He was the managing director of the LWSC in 2012, and he was forced to resign due to his involvement in a corruption saga related to the importation of substandard pipes and chemicals. So he resurfaced, and that was what the report found. So these are part of the appointees that have some integrity record issues, some integrity issues that the report found. Also, the report discovered that Patrick Sendiki, which is who was appointed as deputy managing director for technical services at the LWSC, which is Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation, was dismissed for corruption from the institution when he served as operation engineer. And also Rudolph Marep, who is currently the managing director of the Forestry Development Authority. The report found that Mr. Marep is reputed to have been involved in illegal logging activities during the war years. And Mohammed Malendo Ba, who was appointed as special presidential envoy for investment, is reported to have defrauded Liberians while posing as a dealer of used cars. So these are some of the individuals the report found with some checkered history, who was appointed by the president, and the report found that these people were in previous administration with some, integrity issues, and they resurfaced. So let's look at some of the positives. Because of time, we want to run straight to some of the positives of the report, and we will go to
so what gender
and inclusion. The report found that the president appointed the first female minister of national defense, which is a very big boost to the president's gender credential. If you are serious about inclusion and ensuring that everyone is included, then you have to take some steps. And the president took steps by appointing the first female minister of national defense, who is retired Brigadier General Geraldine Janet George. And also the report found that females also account for 30% of the cabinet. That's a very huge feat. 30% of the cabinet is comprised of females. This this particular statistics meets the globally accepted gender quota regarding minimum proportion of women in leadership positions. So the president, in his construct of his government, has met internationally acceptable gender quota standards by appointing about 30% of his cabinets, appointing 30% of the cabinet as females. And also some other positive is that, half of those appointed as heads of the 75 ministry agencies and commissions to which appointments affecting management are made, female constitute 17.3%. So now the 30%, it covers the entire government, all of the positions, but heads of ministries, agencies, and commissions, about 17.3% of them are females, which is a very big thing, which is a very good thing. And the report commends the president and the government for satisfying that.
Another interesting one. We've seen that the president has appointed 3 physically challenged persons
Of course,
to
yes.
top roles in the government. Sam Dean, who's the executive director of the National Commission on Disability, Dr. Lou Bao, managing director of the Liberia Medical and Health Products Regulatory Authority. Then you have Noor Zhao Gibson, deputy managing director for operation at the National Transit Authority. I think these things are very important. It's a crucial step for improving representations of persons with disability, PW, in government. I think this is something that is very important. Though we are still fighting, like if you look at 18% are females and 81.4%. So if you do the math, we have this gap of 62.something%. Yeah, so more males are there, and you have less. However, we are still making strides, and it's something that we applaud him for.
Thank you very much. And I think if you want to get the full report, you want to read more and know what the report has in terms of some of the findings from the monitoring of the administration, you can visit our website. And again, the handle is www.centar.org.lr. In case you like to have, Centar spelled out, it's CENTAL. So it's CENTAL.org.lr. And then you can flip to documents. And when you flip to documents, you will find the report. It's the 100+ days monitoring report of the Joseph Newman Boycott administration. So yes, you can download it and then get all of the information that you need. That's all the time we have, sadly, for this edition of the program, Integrity Watch. We say thanks to you out there who listen to us, who follow our activities. In case you would like to know more about what we're doing at Centar, you can also visit our Facebook page. The handle is Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia, Centar. We are also very active on Twitter, which is also known as X. So you can follow Centar on X and be, active in what we do and follow exactly what all of our activities and what we're involved with. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. We are available on LinkedIn as Centar. And you could follow us on YouTube as well. We have our Integrity TV broadcasting on YouTube. And you can follow that as well and know what we are up to or what we are doing at Centar. And until next Wednesday, when we'll be back here bringing you another edition of the program, Integrity Watch. My name is Edward Blamo. I've been here with Mark W. Bondao, bidding you bye-bye.